Yesharim class. We are in chapter 7, and I am struggling with camera orientations for YouTube Live today. So we are going to go live in this direction for today. We are going to discuss the different parts of Zerizos, what it means to be a part of zealousness. We are here in chapter 7 of Mesilas Yesharim, and we're going to see that there are two paths to follow within it. One of them is before you do something, and the other one is after you do it. Okay? So before, Kodem Haschal Samaisa, Hu Shelo Yachnis Adam Es HaMitzvah. So the first thing about being zealous, a person should not leaven their mitzvah, meaning don't let it sit there and rise. You don't need to feed it from the environment. It doesn't need to do that. Okay? Ela behegia zmana o behizdam nalefanav o baalo sabama chashavto yimahir yachish measehu leachos ba v'lasos osa v'lo yaniach zman lizman she'yisraba bein asayim ki ein sakana b'sakanaso asher hine kol rega samischadesh yuchal hischadesh eza ikuv l'mayisa hatov. So, nothing could be worse than to say when the time comes to do this mitzvah, or the mitzvah happens to present itself to you, or you have the thought of doing this mitzvah, right? Because mitzvahs are of those different types. You should immediately impress upon yourself how you should be doing it, to take advantage of it right now, and don't leave it from now until another time. And that time is going to get longer. And then every new moment that arises is a new moment for something else to come and keep you from doing this good thing to do. Wow, so procrastination is leavening the mitzvah. Yes, that's what it is. It's leavening the mitzvah. It's great Pesach material. Zichron livracha be'inyan hamlachas Shlomo she'amar David v'nayu ben Yehoyada v'horatem oso el gichon v'ana b'nayahu amen ken yomar Hashem. So the truth of the matter is that we see this clearly played out in the case of appointing Shlomo Melech, and we see that the Midrash points this out. This Midrash is actually in Bereshis Rabbah. And he says, King David says, take Shlomo down and anoint him for king. So Benaiah ben Yehoyada, who was the head of the Sanhedrin, he said, yes, that's what I'm going to do. Amru. So the rabbis say in the Midrash, Rabbi Pinchas b'shem Rabbi Chanan d'Tzipori, halo kvar ne'amar, hine ben nolad lach, hu hiya ish menucha. Okay, so there is a statement about Shlomo is that the Rabbi Pinchas in the name of Rabbi Hanana from Sapori says that we learn about Shlomo that they say about him. This is in Divrei Hayamim in the Book of Chronicles in chapter 22 verse 9, and he says, I will give him peace from all the things around him, and that's why his name should be Shlomo. And so that's what they thought that would be the name that they should give him. Okay, so who will be the man of tranquility? Shlomo, right? So the thing was that actually a lot of problems could happen from now to Gichon. Okay, so that's why you have to be very you have to be very fast acting, is what we're saying. Okay, he's hero Zichon livracha ushmartem es mitzvos mitzvah habal yadcha al tachamitzena. So the idea of the chametz comes from the Mechilta. The Mechilta on Shemos, the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 17, that it says you should guard Ushmartem es ha-matzos. I actually make this mistake while landing all the time. Guard the matzos. The command is to watch the matzos. The matzos become leavened. The rabbis say watch a mitzvah shouldn't become leavened either. Don't let it sit there. Do not delay its performance. They also say in Nazir, le'olam yaktim adam le'davar mitzvah shelafi shehigdima bechira le'tzira zachasa v'kadma arba daros b'Yisrael le'malchus. So the Gemara says in Nazir, and this is Nazir chapter 23b, we see that in a case of performing a mitzvah, the actual translation is that since the older one went ahead and did her job first before the younger one, therefore, four of her generations became kings earlier than the other one. So this is actually referring to Lot's daughters. So the point was that they thought that they had to rebuild the whole world, that the whole world was destroyed. They said, so it's upon us to fill the world. Imagine if people actually took that type of that look nowadays. It's our job to keep the world populated. We should feel incumbent upon ourselves. Nope, instead they're gonna make another trip down to Thailand and sit on the beaches there. But he doesn't say that. They further say about not living a mitzvah to rest. It says, Zurizim makdim lemitzvos. So people who are zariz, who are zealous, they go to the mitzvah as early as possible. That quote comes directly from the Gemara in Pesachim, 4a. V'chein amru, la'olam yarutz adam l'davar mitzvah v'afilu b'Shabbos. A person is always allowed to run to a mitzvah, even on Shabbos. That's the Gemara in Brachos, on Daf Vav. Okay? In the Midrash, talking further about performing the mitzvah, getting ready to do it, it says, Vayikra Rabbah, hu yinahageo almus. So this Midrash is in Vayikra Rabbah. It's in chapter 11 and Midrash number 9, and it's discussing the verse in Tehillim number 48:15. You shall lead us alamus. So the question is, what does almus mean? So what does it mean? Being young until death. So the Midrash says bizarizus ki elain ulemasa, right? So it's one word, like an ulema, which is a young woman, so that we should feel like we have energy like a young child. Where do we see that? Come on, the Amet, besoch alamos tofefos, amongst the young maidens who are banging on the timber, the things with the symbols, the things with the thing that has looks like a little drum in the middle with the little bells along the edges of it, like little tiny cymbals, and you hit that. I think that's what that's called. Anyway, that's what they were used to have, a lot of energy. So that's what the kind of energy you should have for performing mitzvos. Why? Ki azrizos hi midas shleimus gadol asher tivo shel adam mona'a b'meno ata. Mishmis gaber v'tofes ba kol masha yuchol hinei la'asi lavo yizkela be'emes. Asher haboyira yisbarach yitna lo scharo chelef mash hishtadal achareha bizman avodaso. Because when we're talking about being zealous and acquiring this behavior and repeating it over and over, it requires a lot of perfection. Just like I said about Shlomo HaMelech, there's a sense of being perfect that we're trying to attain over here. And we find that there are certain impediments that come in its way. And so therefore, one who basically girds themselves or strengthens themselves and tries to seize the opportunity as much as possible, in a future time, they will see how valuable this really was, and they'll be able to attain it. And so therefore, the reward is in direct relation to how quickly you are able to get this thing done at the time that you were required to perform it. Achaz rizus achas haschalas hamaisehu shekevan sheachas b'mitzvah yimaher lahishlim osa v'lo hakam alav kamisha mis'av lahashlich alav masao ela mir aso pen lo yizke ligmor osa. The other part of zrizus, this is the second part we're talking about, the after the performance part, is that since you have now seized the opportunity for the mitzvah, you shouldn't treat it like you have to be finished with it and to unburden yourself from having to perform this mitzvah, like someone who's looking to throw something off of them like a burden. Right? This is so heavy, I can't keep this on my shoulders anymore. But you should have a sense of urgency and concern that you are not going to finish it. That should be the idea, right? Something else will come into your way. Just like with the performing mitzvah. Something will stop you from starting it, and something will distract you from completing it. Al zeh hirbe hilahazir zuchan livracha amru kol hamaschil b'mitzvah ve'eno gom rasa kover ishto v'anav. So the Midrash says in Bereshis Rabbah in 85:3 that one who starts the mitzvah and doesn't finish it will end up making time to bury his wife and children. Meaning the idea is that that's how long it's going to take. That you will be around to see tragedies, but not the actual mitzvah itself. Amru, and they further said, Ein ha-mitzvah nikreis ela al shem gomra. The mitzvah only gets called by the person who finishes it. Amar Shlomo Melech alav shalom, and going back to Shlomo Melech, who says in the book of Mishlei in chapter 22, and it's proverb number 29, he says, Chazisa ish mahir b'malachto lifnei malachim yisatzev, bal yisatzev lifnei chashukim. He says, if you see a person who takes care of his jobs rapidly, that person will stand before the highest ranking officials and stand before kings. All right, he will not stand before the lowest level of people. Chachamim zichron livracha yechasu lo hashevach hazeh al shemiher b'melechas binyan habayis v'lis atzel ba la'achar osa v'chein dirashu al Moshe alav shalom al shemiher b'melechas hamishkan. And we even talk about the Gemara in Sanhedrin on page 104, A and B over here. They mention how Shlomo Melech was very interested in completing the building of the Beis HaMikdash rapidly, and Moshe did the same thing with the Mishkan. They meant to get it done on time and with a sense of urgency. Avraham al kasuv bo v'yimar Avraham ha'ohela el sarah v'yomer mahari v'cholev v'vitin al nar v'yimahir. Right, so we see even by Avraham, he's visited by the three visitors. He's not necessarily fully aware of who they are yet. But this is, so if you look back in Sefer Bereshis in chapter 18, the whole story is there, and these psukim are Vav and Zion. It says that he rushes to bring them stuff to eat, right, and to give them stuff to wash themselves. So we see that he does it all there in those three verses. Rivka, Matmer v'ta'ar kada, right, by Rivka. So we see that in Bereshis 24, verse 20. As soon as she sees Yaakov approaching, she runs as fast as she can to give his camels water to drink. V'chein amur b'midrash. And we say further in the midrash, we talk about another case. Matemaher ha'isha. Chulei chulei. Melamed shekol ma'aseim shel tzadikim b'mehirus asher lo yitnu hefsek zman lo el haschalas hamitzvah v'lo el hashlamasa. So in the midrash of Midbar, it also points out about the mother of Shimshon, that she quickly went to go inform her husband about having seen the angel. This is in Shoftim chapter 13, verse 10. Okay, but the midrash itself is in Bamidbar Rabbah. So we see they don't even take a break for a second. No interruptions, just go to it. Okay, v'sireh sheha'adam asher tilchat nafsho be'avodas boro v'vadish lis'atzel ba'asiyas mitzvaso ela tiyat nuaso k'snuas ha'esh ha'mehira kilo yenuach lo yishkot ad im kila hadavar lahashlimo. And so what we see clearly is that a person who their own spirit burns within them in the service of their Creator, right? Lahat is a flame, a literal flame, that they're not going to be lazy at all in fulfilling His commands. They're going to take the moment to go move in the direction of where the fire is at its most fast moving. Okay? And He won't even leave it for a second, and He won't let it sit to do nothing. Rather, He's going to go ahead and finish it up as best and quickly as possible. That's zealousness. But Amnon, he's born in Oid. Shekamoshe hazrizus hu toleres hahislahatus hapanimi. Kain min hazrizus yivalid hahislahatus. So there are two competing fires that are going to be lighting under this person, right? He's being lit with a sense of urgency. So you need to get this understanding. Okay, so just like it's something that there's an internal burning feeling, at that inner burning sensation, like I have to get it done right now. So you're also going to light on fire something else inside of you. Okay, but it's going to be more. It's going to be more of a constant burning urge. Okay, and what is this? Hainu kimi shemargish asma b'maisa hamitzvah k'moshe hu mimaher tenu aso hachitzona kihine hu gorem shetiv arbo tenu aso hapnimis k'mochein v'hacheshek v'hachefetz yisgaber bo v'yelech ach im yistahag b'chveidus b'snuas averav gam tenuas rucho tishka v'tichbe v'zed davar shehanisayon yidehu. So when you start to get that sense of urgency, it's a good sense. You get that idea of, I need to do this quickly. But it's not just lighting that fire of the want to do it. You also have to initiate that burning feeling of, I want to start to do it. So you have to get your brain into gear, and then you have to get your body into gear. So that's the next thing, is getting your body into gear for this. Another couple things over here. So you also understand that this desire to increase your service of your Creator, blessed be He, this is a desire that comes from the heart itself, and it's something that the very soul of the person desires. This is something that King David praised and sang about in the good part of the person. He says this in the book of Psalms, Tehillim Mem Beis 42, verses 2 and 3. Ka'ayal ta'rog al fikei mayim, kein nafshi ta'rog elecha Elokim. Sama nafshi Elokim. Right? He says, just like a small deer looking to benefit from drinking from a small stream of water, so too does my soul desire to take part in your world, God. So my whole soul, my whole essence is thirsting for you. Okay, and we also say in another verse in Tehillim, this is in 84, verse 3, it says, Nichsafa v'gamat kalasa nafshi l'chatzos Hashem. And we say, furthermore, Sama l'cha nafshi kamal l'cha v'sari. We say it, repeat it again, the idea of the thirsting for God. We feel this inner drive and this draw to do these things. That's what we're looking for over here. And so we wrap up the chapter with the following, V'ulam ha'adam asher ein ha'chemda hazos lo hetes bo karui, eitz tovahi lo sheyizdareis b'ritzono, k'dei sheyimashech mizes shetivali bo ha'chemda b'teva, ki hatnu ha'chitzona me'oreres ha'panimis, ubevade sheyoser mesur b'yado hi ha'chitzona me'ha'panimis. So you may have thought one way, which was that I need to kind of get the inner self to kind of get myself prepared to want to do things, and then it'll drag the body along. It's actually the other way around. You need to get your body to want to do things in order for you to follow the ideas that are being drawn up in your mind. Okay, so you have to get the outer performative part of you to bring forth the ideas itself. Ach im yishtamish mimasha biyado yikne gam masha eno biyado b'hemshech. Ki tivalid bo ha-simcha ha-panimis v'ha-chifetz v'ha-chemda mikoch mashahu mislahet b'sinu aso b'ratzon. V'umasha haya navi omer. Let me stop there. Let me translate the first half of that, which is that, so it should be pretty clear that if you're going to make use of the things that are under your control, you're going to eventually drag along those things that are not necessarily in your possession, but you will acquire them through acting on it. What's going to come forth, you're going to bear forth, love this word, you're going to fructify the sense of joy in yourself from an internal passion and the desire and the want from this strength of this burning movement inside of you to want to do these things. So we find that this is exactly what the prophet Hosea himself says in chapter 6, that I'm going to look into it and I'm going to pursue after it, to know what God wants of me to do. And that's from Hosea chapter 6. And also Hosea, he says, Achrei Hashem yelochu ka'aryeh yish'ag. It said, I will go after Hashem like a roaring lion. The idea being that is going to be my full investment and my full purpose. So thank you very much for joining us today. That is how we look at what zeal feels like. And we will discuss next time about how to be more zealous, how to get how do we put that extra oomph in your step and to move your body to go do things. Thank you for joining us this week. We will see you next time.